Hey everyone, back in the shop today. Decided to play around a little bit with air conditioning and see why nothing seems to work. On economy, or on defrost, or on heat, the inside blower works. Fan blows. It regulates the temperature inside the vehicle. But when I press the middle button to turn on the AC, the compressor does not click on. So it's not very scientific here, but let me just explain a few things. First of all, right here, this connector right there, that is wired into the fan right in front, the electric fan. Okay, so when the engine reaches a certain temperature, air conditioning on or not, that fan is going to come on as an auxiliary fan. Over here is the dryer. This is a pressure switch with connections that if the pressure gets too high inside the air conditioning system, it will click on this fan, which is this fan right here also. So it's two ways that fan comes on. This is your low pressure switch. If there's not enough freon in the system, it will not complete a contact, will not flow electricity, and it will not turn on the clutch, which sits right down there. Okay, so just doing basic electrical troubleshooting with an ohm meter and a voltmeter, and also with some jumper wires. I turned on the key in the ignition. I unplugged these two fan switches, these two wires which control this auxiliary fan, and I bridged them together, which told the car that there's too much pressure and the auxiliary fan needs to come on. And it did. So it's perfect. Okay, plug that back in. I went over here to the low pressure switch for the Freon, and I have no voltage whatsoever with a voltmeter to these wires. When you're putting Freon in, or if you're just a little low on Freon and she won't click on, you can jumper these two wires together with a jumper wire, and that'll let the compressor come on. It will not do it, there's no voltage. So then I went under the car and I unplugged the electrical connector to the AC clutch right down there. It's your AC clutch right there where I'm shining the flashlight. And I ran 12 volts to just that clutch, and it clicks on. So I said, that's very interesting. What else is in the loop here to not allow the compressor to click on? Well, there is an air conditioning compressor relay, which sits in the passenger footwell above the fuse box. You will see some relays right up in here. It's off, and you can't see up in there, but there are relays. That top relay, there are two relays on that side. The top one is the air conditioner compressor relay. So I decided, I have a ton of these ice cube relays sitting around. I popped that one out and put another one in there, and it did absolutely nothing. Compressor still would not come on. So I went to the wiring diagram to take a look and see what else would keep an air conditioning compressor from not turning on. The other thing that will not allow it to come on is if the evaporator in there is frozen up. Now, you probably don't remember this, but when I bought this car, these wires were sitting back here, not hooked up to anything, okay? And they had a 25 amp fuse between the two connections. Well, I realized after looking at the wiring diagram that these wires plug into the ETR switch. I'm sorry, I just dropped the phone. The ETR switch, do you see that foam thing right there? That's your evaporator temperature switch. If the evaporator gets too cold, it will actually break the connection there and shuts off the compressor, okay? Well, these are the two wires that control it. So what I did was, I went ahead and bridged and jumped these two wires together, got in the car, turned on the ignition, and hit the air conditioning button, the middle one right there. I did not have the car running, I just had the ignition on, and I was not hearing a click at the clutch. So then I decided, well, maybe it's just so low on Freon. So I unplugged the connectors to the low pressure switch and I jumpered them. It was just these wires right there. I jumpered them. I took them off and jumpered these two wires together, along with jumpering the two wires that go to the ETR switch. Turn the ignition key on, press the button next to economy, which is the air conditioning button, and the compressor clicked on. I said, wow, that is fantastic. So yes, there was just not enough Freon in the system. So I didn't even get out any gauges or anything. I just took a 12-ounce can of Freon, hooked it up to the low pressure port. Let me show you where that is. This is an 82. Low pressure port is right down there. The high pressure port is right there. Started the car. The son was in the car. I was putting Freon in. He hit the air conditioning button. The compressor clicked on perfectly. The compressor sounds fine. And I put in a full 12 ounces of Freon. It was starting to blow cold inside the car. We shut the car off and I disconnected my Freon bottle. And I plugged the wiring back in to the low pressure switch, which is right there. Turned the car back on, hit the air conditioning button, and there was enough Freon in the system now for the air conditioning to work. And yes, it was blowing cold air out the side vents and the center vents and the other side vent. And this is where I've stopped, because the right thing to do is to order a new ETR switch, install that. It's got a capillary tube in it that runs directly into the evaporator fins. And then, once that is in there, hook the two wires back up. And now, the air conditioning compressor the air conditioning system will not freeze up. So, that's what I plan on doing. I've got a can of Freon in there. I'm gonna let it sit overnight, and tomorrow I'll come back and see if I still have the same amount of Freon in it. And this was not very scientific. This is just basic air conditioning work without gauges, without anything. Just a voltmeter, some jumper wires, and a wiring diagram. And I'm excited because the compressor sounded fine. It was blowing cold out of the vents. Maybe I've got air conditioning in this thing too, for just the cost of an ETR switch, which is about $30, and a couple of cans of Freon. So, it was a good day. That all took a whole 35 minutes of troubleshooting. there I am showing you my speakers. I just think they look fantastic. Of course, you'd see and notice that I had to take the inside of the glove box out. And that was one of the most difficult things because of those little push pins that hold it in. But I'm excited. That ETR switch is just held in with 2 Phillips screws. There's not much room to work in there, but I think I can get it. Anyway, who knows? A couple of weeks, it'll start getting warm enough for pollen to start down here, and warm enough to drive around with the hard top on, and maybe the air conditioning on. Thanks for watching. Good morning. It's the next day. Back up here at the shop, checking out the SL. Want to see if the Freon that I put in yesterday has held. So let's take a look at this. She's running just fine. Sounds good. Right now AC is off. The flex down there is off. Let's see. Let's see if we can hear this. Economy. Fan blowing. Now I want to hear a click. And the air conditioning compressor is on. Flux has engaged. It's getting cold. Sounds good. I will now go ahead and order myself the ETR switch and install that. This is some exciting news because it looks like, woo, do I have air conditioning? Oh, that's awesome. Wow. That is fantastic. I am excited. Great news. Awesome.